And are we live now?
Well, that's no
The thing
notification
says
from my
live.
phone up like you.
All right.
Yeah, our thing says live.
Mine says off air again. Oh, now it says live. Yay! Hi,
There's a
everybody.
delay.
So, thank you for all of your patience, people hanging out. Last week, this little girl right here, this is Harmony. Say hi,
Hello.
Harmony. Hello. She's so pretty. She got a little boo-boo on her eyebrow. I don't know what happened out there in the cold. Oh. But we got her back, and she's good, and she's chilling with us now. Yeah. Yeah. She doesn't want to be a big star, though. She doesn't have that ambition. She likes to like hang out and hide in places.
Oh,
That's her
well,
big
I wish my baby would do that.
Yeah.
You wish your baby just hide around? What? You want your?
I wish my little pet, because I've got a cockatiel, like my cockatiel bird, and I wish it would like go into the background. He thinks he wants to be the bigger star than I am.
I'll let you get down now, Harmony. Okay.
No, ask Harmony if she has any questions for Curiosity, since this is your 5,000 subscriber Q&A chat.
It is?
Yes, it is.
Neat.
So I recently got to 5,000, and then I was going to do the Q&A thing, and then Harmony ran away, but now I'm back. So I don't know. Hopefully people will show up and have questions, but if not, we'll just chat. Either way.
I have a lizard and a salamander, and they don't run away because tanks.
Thank you very much.
All right.
That's why I always recommend those kinds of pets, because you can't cuddle them because they're not like big, but you save out on a lot of like other trouble too.
We used to have a cockatiel too growing up, and but we also had 2 dogs growing up, but after they passed away but had long lives, my family never got any other pets, and there is that stray cat that I don't see around because it's like winter right now, but I bet if once it warms up, I'll see that cat around. I'm half tempted of taking in that stray, but other than that, nah, no pets. I mean, I should have a cat. I'm a male feminist. That's the kind of male feminist thing to do. Have a cat.
I know. What the heck? I don't know what's going on with that. I have a cat.
This is my baby.
We have an all-black cat. And they don't. This cat is even more not really wanting to hang out with people than the dog is. So, but they're both rescues, and that's why.
Oh, that's good.
So they're not trusting. The cat has warmed up to me quite a bit, but that's mostly because I feed it. Sometimes there's 2 people that feed it in this house, and those are the 2 people those are the 2 people that it cares anything about, and everybody else it just runs away from. And then there's Harmony, who's really sweet and loves everything and everyone, but also is scared of everything and everyone. So just to balance that out, it's hard. I get it. All right. So everybody, before we get started, we should I'd like you all to just introduce yourself and talk about your channel for a second. Just let us all know who's here, and I have Dustin, Lonely Wolf, and some random geeks. So if you want to go in that order, that would be cool.
Oh, okay. I'm Dustin. I appear every week on a channel called Inside Movies Galore, which me and my friends, we pick a movie and we do a panel discussion on it. And that's every week at roughly 9 o'clock Central. And we don't always do horror. We kind of mix it up. Like I could go into a really long explanation, but check us out and hopefully you like us. I also do another one called Pop Culture Weekly on, well, it's called Pop Culture Weekly, with my friends who run the Twisted Dreams Horror Film Festival here in Milwaukee. And on that one, we just kind of talk about more or less whatever the subject of that week is. It's pretty free form. That's on about 7 o'clock Central on Thursdays. And then I have my own channel that I'm working on getting off the ground called The Crypt of Horrors, which is for like my horror, like I'm a horror collector, like a movie collector. And so that's just for like unboxings, or it's like, oh, I went out to Half Price Books and here's something amazingly valuable that they had priced really cheap. And I also got plans to have some like talks with different people what are involved with like creating horror. Like at some point I've got like Tim Seeley, who wrote Hack Slash and like a bunch of other really awesome horror comics, lined up to come on and talk about that. So there's kind of a lot planned, but I'm also in school, so my kind of crummy. But yeah, so go check all three of those out: Inside Movies Galore, Pop Culture Weekly, and The Crypt of Horrors. So I also enjoy being an internet weirdo, in case you could not tell.
You are welcome here. All internet weirdos are welcome here.
That's awesome. I love the background and like just the aesthetics of your like backdrop.
Who, me?
Yeah, I think like everyone actually, but especially the Dusty, the horror guy with all the stuff in the background, the mask, everything.
Yeah.
I put a lot of work into this. I've basically done nothing but like set design like my entire winter break. So I think I'm maybe like 80% done. Like I've got a bunch of tabs open right now, so I'm still like working on picking some stuff up. Like I have a tab for like horror pillows. I have a tab for like a Halloween blanket, and I have a tab for like meat hooks.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really like the hooks hanging off the pipe thing.
Well, it seemed like there needed to be something there, and
Yeah.
All right,
Lonely Wolf, introduce yourself.
I'm the Lonely Wolf, so I'm kind of a smaller YouTube. I'm about to reach 200. If I reach 200, I just need 12 more people, and then I'll probably...
Oh, everyone, immediately go and subscribe to Lonely Wolf. Go.
Because mine's it's like when you first see the introduction to the channel, you'll think, who's this guy? Because it's an eclectic channel. That's the best I could say, because you don't know what I pretty much do everything that I can think of in one thing.
You bothered to make the introduction, so
yeah. So the main thing I do is mainly my music covers. So if you like sort of keyboard playing or whatever, then I'm a beginner. I'm not that good. So I also talk about issues about queer stuff, because I'm an asexual person. So I talk a lot about the queer advocacy for anything like that. And I also just do live streams where we just discuss what was happening. So we've done the most recent live stream I did. We discussed the recent activity on Twitter where there's been a lot of talk about pedophilia and, you know, people linking that to the LGBT community in a very sort of in a very cruel and unjust way. And
yeah,
it's you know, somebody that I knew that I talked to was like, was espousing these ridiculous ideas, and so we sort of, I had a few friends and we sort of had a live stream to unpack the hypocrisy of what of some of the arguments they were putting forward.
Yeah. All right. Now it's time for introduction of me. Hello, internet, and hello, Curiosity's audience. You know me. I am some random geek. I do. Jonathan Scott's my real name. And on my channel, this week, well, the video is finishing rendering. It just haven't done yet. But anyway, I also uploaded early this week finally a movie review, an anime review of the movie adaptation of A Silent Voice. I highly recommend it. It's really good. It's like, it made me cry. I've watched it several times and I still get like an emotional engagement with the film each time I watch it. and I my video's done. And then my eggs are done. But the Silent Voice is also coming out in theaters next week, the 28th and the 31st through Phantom Events. And so I recommend everyone check it out. And so I do some movie reviews, I do some streams, and I do some hangouts that like similar to like this, but I mirrored, and that's me. So yes, hello.
All right. Hello.
I forgot to introduce. I forgot. This is Dallas, by the way. I forgot to introduce the bird. He was usually my co-star.
Hello, bird.
Hi, Dallas. Tweet, tweet. Oh. See, she's got great taste. I love her already. All right. So I'll start out, I guess, with a couple of the questions. I did have some questions off Twitter. So I don't even think they're here, but I'm just going to ask them anyway, and they can come and find out later. So Big Joel asked me, he also has he has a much larger channel than me. You probably all already know him, but he asked how I got into YouTube. And I got into YouTube when I stopped working to stay home with my kids. And I was just sort of I was so used to doing so many things, like working and just having 20 different things going on and all at once. And I think it was a really hard adjustment for me to sort of just be home and focused on one thing. So I was watching some YouTube videos. I was like, I can do this. I should do this. And yeah, this should tell you when I started doing YouTube, because my first idea was I was going to do Minecraft videos that would teach kids about things like art and architecture and history. And then I was just watching more YouTube videos and hanging out, and I noticed how toxic it was. I was going, oh my God, what is going on? These little girls, literally girls would do like these bedroom videos and just say, feminism is good. I like it. I'm 12. And these horrible people would come and just say the worst things. And then all of their subscribers, would go and attack. That was like, oh my God, somebody's got to get into the mix here. So that's when I started getting into the more political side of YouTube, and that's when I started making videos on that, because they can come at me all day long. I'm not fucking 12, so
yep.
That's all I got to say about that.
You are the SJW daredevil.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
I am.
And since this is not a Christiosity stream without not the Christiosity stream in the evening without some wine drinking, and also you were drinking some wine. I don't have a fancy glass. I didn't bring it in here to the room right now. I can get it later, but I have some wine. I have some Nobilis Vino Verta. So I'm going to be drinking with you, Chrissy.
Oh, and here I felt alone.
Salute.
Metallica.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I'm very delicate when it comes to that sort of thing. I've never really had anyone. I've never had anybody come to my channel and abuse me, or someone make a response video. That's probably why I prefer to be small, because I'd be a bit of a snowflake if it came to what if that sort of thing happened to me. So that's, I mean, even when I make a video saying or in a stream or something like that, because like Random Gig, I'm also sort of gender non-binary, whatever word we want to use, and then you'll sort of get the attack helicopter memes or whatever, but that hasn't really happened. So I always get very, very cautious about if I want to introduce something that's I'm very, very cautious. Like, I put my feet in the water very delicately, whereas other people can just dive in and just take it all, whereas I'm a bit more snowflakey about that.
Yeah, and yes, I am non-binary, but it's a man plus, so he/him's my pronouns. If you say they them, I'll be like, nah, I don't mind. It's like that. It fits me well enough, but I prefer he/him and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, I use the masculine pronoun just because I'm I don't know, because I'm almost about to reach, I don't know, I'm only 2 years away from 40, so it's like, it's kind of something that's new to me, and I wouldn't be used to. I'm just used to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, my channels are small enough. I haven't really gotten like a whole lot of that, so most of my stuff that I've had issues with has just been kind of the nature of like the panel discussion thing. For example, like I'm a little embarrassed about it. Like I really dislike The Exorcist as a movie, and we had a priest on for that episode, and he was like, "Oh, it's brilliant and it's great," and I'm sitting here like, "It's fucking trash. I hate it so much," and I'm just like,
oh my god! Don't start, because this will be the entire video.
I know, that's why I try to like keep it down. But that's
the entire video. No, because I have opinions. Oh my god, I have opinions on.
So, Chad, as for Christiasi's opinions about The Exorcist, and then.
All right, before that, all right. There's two things. There's 2 points I want to make, and one of the points is about the whole snowflake thing. And I've made this point before, but I think it's very important. When people talk about, oh, we want to have all these ideas, we want to have all this information and be able to, in the free marketplace of ideas, blah, 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 right? I don't have time for that. But if we took that as a legit thing and not just crap, right? I think one of the things that we should do is respect the snowflakes, respect the sensitive people, because we don't want to have only the assholes of the world and the bitches of the world giving their opinions and ideas, and everybody else is like kind of, because there's no correlation between is sensitive, is gentle, is caring, and is not worth listening to, like, and there's certainly no correlation between is not sensitive or gentle or caring, but you should definitely listen. Like that's not how that works. Like we should have, at the very least, we should have the assholes and the kinder and more, I always think like there's this little song by Jewel from a gazillion years ago, but I always liked it. It was like, I'm sensitive and I want to stay that way. Like don't be an asshole. Don't break me. And I think that's true. That's good. That's, that's part of the diversity of us all. I like quiet, sensitive, gentle, still waters run deep kind of people. I don't only like to hang out with assholes. Like, come on.
I mean, who just wants to only hang out with assholes? That's my question too. Like, it's like, I think it's fine to have a balance and stuff like that. But then again, it's like if no one wants to, like, if someone doesn't want to ever hang out with assholes, who, however they define that, that's also their prerogative too.
And for me,
yeah, I mean, sometimes even the most like the calm sort of people like me, even there's been some situations, because with my social circles, it varies across the political spectrum. Because I think that Geek would know what I'm talking about, like the sort of because you've been in some of our streams as well. It's a very diverse sort of thing, and there might reach a point where not so much them, but somebody from the outside comes in and we had this awful incident where we had a trans woman on our stream who is a good friend of all of us with a lot of different people, and then some big YouTuber came in and it was really asked these really rude sort of intrusive questions, and that's the first time where it's like when your back is against the wall, like sometimes you end up finding that that's the first time I'd found that voice, that kind of angry voice, is just to say, mind your business.
Just come on, Matt. Come on.
Back it down now.
Just a little bit. No, I hear you. All right, so I'm gonna answer. Mabus, is it Mabasay or Mabasai? Because I've known this person forever, and it never occurred to me to ask how to pronounce that. Big Twitter friend, and here in the chat,
he has his own YouTube. He has his own YouTube channel too, where he just like does video game streams as well.
Yeah, I know. I think I've seen one like a long time ago, but I don't watch a lot of video game streaming stuff. So sorry.
Yeah, neither do I really. So.
Yeah. Just like when I was thinking of making a Minecraft channel, I watched some Minecraft stuff, and that's it.
now, over the past weekend, there was a very epic like Donkey Kong 64 101 completion stream that was happening, but it was also for charity, but also a lot of really awesome, cool people like dropped in to say hi, including John Romero, who created Doom and Quake, Chelsea Manning, all of the major YouTubers have left too, and stuff like that, and the Congresswoman.
Gang.
Yes, Teeth Gang.
I heard that AOC herself was even.
Yes, she was.
My God.
Yeah, she showed up apparently and answered a few questions.
It translates as civil rights and human rights as well, because Chelsea Manning was on the stream as well, and in the Discord that they were doing communications, and Chelsea Manning was the link to AOC, and also that stream got retweeted by Matthew Mercer. He's a voice actor and host of Critical Role on the internet, as well as like Cher retweeted that as a stream as well. So yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, no, it was a great moment, I think, and it was really, to me, a sign of what we can do if we put ourselves together and sort of just, like a lot of times, I think we all have been in that position of not having the motivation, or like I know I do constantly, just going, oh, is this even doing anything? But you know what? Like, this is years of work for people getting into a position where this could have been pulled off. And I don't know if people really think about like people like Dan Olson, years and years of work. H Bomber guy, just another YouTuber for a long time until he broke through. There was now I'm blanking on her name, and I love her to bits, and she trans furry.
Oh, at Casey Explosions, the internet.
Of course, Casey Explosions. What the hell?
With the
how could I possibly have forgotten that? But anyway, like I've known her on social media for probably 2-3 years of just slogging it out every day. Like, but at a certain point, it's that sort of when preparation meets opportunity, kind of boom, and everything goes well. Like, and it was just beautiful. And I think the other thing that I really love about that is it really showed that for all the transphobia out there, there are a lot of people who've been waiting for a chance to make their voices heard. And just like, it's hard to do that. Like, most people do not want to spend hours on social media arguing with assholes. It is not a good use of most people's time.
And it really says a lot about because there was somebody, I forgot what his name is, but there's this dude who's really an ally to that gender critical radical wing of feminism. And yeah, he was really sort of salty about the stream, and I'm thinking, I don't know. His name's
Graham.
Graham Lindenham. The stream was made to spite him. because he was transphobic and wanted to like get the Mermaids, a charity that the H. Barman guy was raising money for, to be defunded in a way because they won the national lottery of something in the UK. And then he had his followers do a mass email campaign to say this organization is terrible, don't give them the money. So then they put that on hold. We still don't know if that's the money wasn't taken away, but it's put on hold, so it's under investigation and stuff like that. So H. Barman guy thought that was absolutely terrible that like Gremlin had did that. He's the co-writer, writer and co-creator of Father Ted, which is also known in America as well. It's very funny.
It's so sad.
Yeah,
destroyed that for me.
I mean, if Graham's watching, I mean, Curiosity's like got her like wine, and it's partly made of those salty tears from the
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the good thing about that is just like if you look on Twitter, like when people are mentioning him, it's just people like dunking on him, and it's like, haha, you lost.
Thanks, Graham.
So I mean, I get some satisfaction from that.
I mean, instead of attacking another stream, like, why not? Okay, so if you sort of, I mean, obviously, like, you're probably identifying as a feminist, and so you think, okay, the women's is, so instead of, you know, shitting on someone else's stream, like, why not, like, put your money where your mouth is, and you can start a charity stream for, you know, for women or something like that, instead of sitting there being salty. It goes to show where people's priorities are.
I don't think there is no question that Graham is as misogynistic as he is transphobic. And this idea that he's just helping women out is just an excuse, because the minute that women, like, I'm a cis woman, so I'll go and tell him, hey, stop, nobody asked you to do this, dude, stop. Like, this isn't how I feel about this issue, and I don't need your help. Like, thanks anyway, get fucked. But but he doesn't have time for that, because it's not really about that. It's not about what women want, and it's not about it's just about an excuse, for a very shallow excuse for bigotry.
Yeah,
because it's almost not like I don't really find, even among, all right, there are TERFs, right? There's a hardcore TERF group, and it pisses me off that they exist, but there is. But the majority of the transphobes, at least that I interact with or have seen, have been men. Like, I don't know, maybe I could be way off. That's just how I see it. Like, I think that there is...
For a man to call you a handmaiden, that's kind of...
Oh, yeah, that's statement. Oh.
All right. But we should move on.
Do questions.
That's depressing.
Yes, because Mabasay or Mabasai.
Mabasai.
Mabasai. Mabasai. Mabasay, 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 Mabasay.
Has the wine already got to you already?
Maybe I'm a cheap date.
Same here. Hey, it saves on alcohol if you know I should stop drinking now, then it saves on alcohol too, if you can know where your limit is as well.
Oh, I'm not going to stop.
Oh, okay.
I think
I'm just going to continue singing. Mabasay, Mabasay, Mabasay.
It's your stream, so I'm an anarchist. I can't tell you what to do. I cannot force anyone or compulse anyone to do anything.
Look, I have there's 2 nights a week where I'm allowed to drink. No, really, as a mom, that's during the week, can't do anything.
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday, I can have a little bit of wine, and I do.
Yes.
I had a similar problem recently, although it was kind of more self-imposed. Like all the stuff in the background, like every day, it's like, okay, I'm figuring out where I'm going to put stuff. Man, I really want to drink, but I know I'm going to be standing like 10 feet in the air on that ladder in like 5 minutes, so I can't. And so I finally got the ladder put away. So that's what my haha is here tonight. So I can somewhat relate.
What are you drinking, by the way? Just curious.
So this is Enter Night Pilsner. It's apparently some kind of collaboration with Stone Brewery and Metallica. I think it was, how much was this? Does it say? It was like $2.50 or something. I like Metallica and I thought it was worth a try. And so far it's okay. Like, it's a Pilsner. Like, I generally prefer stouts.
Stouts.
I had some really nice stouts in the, have you ever had Sexquatuck Brewery Blueberry Maple Stout?
I haven't.
Awesome. It's pretty awesome. It's well, it's a stout that tastes kind of like blueberry pancakes, but like alcoholic. It is spectacular.
That sounds spectacular.
I can go get one in a little bit and show you the bottle.
All right. No, you should. I might.
Why not?
Yeah. Hey. All right. But we do have to get to the questions. So, and there are two here. Are statements like "I don't date blacks, Asians, etc." racist or a sign of someone's racism? And I would say that they are.
Yeah.
Personally, like, I think if you say something like, say you say, I really dig black hair, or, you know, there's something about XYZ aspect, you know, I don't know, tall or this or that. Like, everybody has their little things that they like or just are turn-offs to them. And I don't think we all can really do anything about those preferences. But to say, I don't date blacks, I don't date Asians, that's huge, huge demographic pools of people that are there's a lot of diversity within that. So right away, you're denying the diversity that exists within that group. And you're acting like, and it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it's almost as you have made a firm decision based on your personal idea of what this race is. What does Asian mean to you? What does black mean to you? Because let me tell you, when I started working in doctors' offices, one of the first things that I had to do, they just, like, they're training you, right? So they set you up with the stupid tasks, the menial tasks, and they were collecting Department of Health information on people. And so the particular thing that they had me ask was, like, ask everybody what their race is. And, like, I don't care if Uma Thurman and Idris Elba, I'm picking those because those are two people I've been told are emblematic. Like, I don't care. Like, sit them down and say, so, what race are you? Like, which is awkward. It isn't awkward. Because, like, you do get some people who look at you like, are you kidding? Like, right? Like, what's the disconnect? And I'm like, it's my job. Just, I have to ask because the Department of Health has said that they want to collect this data. They don't want to go just based on what I think, right? And what I did find was that people's self-identification is totally different than you would think it is. Like, people, when they start talking about what they think that their racial identity is, say things like that you would never expect. Like, well, I'm sort of West Indies by way of Puerto Rico, by way of this, you know, or like, I'm kind of a combination of German and but I also have Native American, and I also have this, and I have this. Like, and you start to sort of formulate these things or you'll have somebody who has the skin tones of an Idris Elba, but says, I'm not black. I'm from, oh my God, what is the, like some Caribbean country. And that's my race. Like, right. I'm, you know, so you get these conversations. Like, and it's not as simple or as clear or as straightforward as people think it is, right? So to sort of just say, I'm X, I'm Y, I'm Z. First of all, the first thing that you are doing is accepting an idea of what race is and what it means, and then you're making a judgment on it. And you know, you're putting some people in this box and putting some people in that box. So, and that is inherently racist. I don't there's no understanding I have of a way to make that not racist, if that makes sense. I can understand people who say, I like black hair or I like red hair. They're right, objectively. But I can't understand people who say, I don't like Asians. I don't want to date Asian people. That's fucked up, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody has anything that they'd like to add to that or say better than I just said. That
it's just a douchebag move to actually come out there and to actually put that out there and say, I wouldn't date this person, I wouldn't date this person, I wouldn't date this person, I wouldn't date this person. It's like, yeah, people, whatever thoughts people have in their heads and like who they choose to date, that's, you know, that's a different story. But to actually be very vocal about it, you're kind of being a bit of a dick if you're doing that.
Yeah, exactly. But then, okay, then there's the another interesting question. Is like, okay, so what do you say about like people who claim that they have like that they claim that they love to like date Asian women, as it were, like they have a yellow fever, and I hate to use that term, stuff like that. I mean, it's like.
Is it like a fetishizing or something?
Yeah, I think it's fetishizing.
Yeah, fetishizing is just as bad. Don't do that either.
Yeah, exactly.
All this was reminding me of was I hang out in a lot of like random groups. There's one on Facebook. It's like, this isn't Lost, but it feels like it, or something like that. And there was just like a screen cap of like somebody's like Tinder profile, and it's like this really attractive girl like listing like a bunch of like things that sound great, and it's like, yeah, and then you get to the bottom, it's like, also I'm really racist, so don't reply if you're, you know, several racial epithets.
I'm glad
you look back at the picture and you're like, and then you look back at it, but it's like, no, it's kind of hellish, actually. You're a terrible person, but
I'll pass. I'm glad I read it down to the bottom of the description. It was where.
Yeah, it was disappointing.
But those, I mean, then I think to myself, holy shit, because I'm sort of, you know, asexual, so I'm born with no sort of attraction, and I'm also like not romantic either. So I sort of think, well, that means it's not that I dislike people. It's just like, you know, I don't date people regardless. So I've discriminated against every possible demographic, but I've done it equally.
Yeah. And also, it's like, not to mention, hey, Electric Mayhem 87, Ashley's in the chat. Hey, comrade. She has mentioned how, like, Asian means Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Indian, Pakistan, Nepalese, Filipino, Malaysian, Vietnamese, etc., etc., etc. It's like, and Asian countries are very ethnically diverse themselves. Like, China and India has, like, hundreds of various, like, ethnic groups within them and stuff like that. So, to say that, like, I only date Asians or I don't date Asians, that's a lot of people. You're either saying that you're.
It's not even a sentence that really makes sense.
Exactly.
It really doesn't. Like within Asia, there's different ideas of race, right? Go outside of America and try to define what any of these races mean. Try to define what white means, what black means, what brown means, what Asian. Like everywhere you go, if you go to Brazil, you'll have a whole different group of ideas. People in Japan, within Japan, the Japanese people consider that there are several different races, and so like it's really and that's just because they have sort of they had a lot of time within a very small and closed off society to sort of develop these ideas. Nobody, like outside Japan, if you were like this race and this race, you go, what am I missing? Like, what? Like they're when they look at marriages, some very traditional people, not like everybody, obviously. I don't want to say like everybody in Japan is so super racist, but like there are certain very traditional people that will sit there and look through your genealogy to make sure that there's not been any mixing. And this isn't like there is no difference. Like there's not physically a difference. There's not genetically. Like the only way you can measure it is by looking through genealogy, right? So it's just assuming that what we consider this racial group or that racial group is what they would consider themselves, or is some sort of really actually good designation is complete bullshit. It's just it doesn't even make sense. So to say something like that, to say, I was showing, I love showing, now that there are more sort of mixed race marriages, there are a lot of twins out there that if you looked at them together, they're twins, but you'd think they were two completely different races, right? Just because of how genes work. Isn't that funny? Like one person gets one set and one person gets another set, and that's how it works, So I just love every time I see a racist just showing them these pictures and like, tell me what race these two are. They were born out of the same womb at like the same time.
I know Mabase, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name like that. It was sort of like a good point. So what he says is because I know I've got a couple of friends, like I've got a really dear friend of mine on Twitter and we stream quite a bit. So he says, I kind of don't care to date anyone who isn't black. I'm not trying to teach anybody about blackness. I need my partners pre-installed with that. And it's like, and a lot of people, I think a lot of white people would look at that and they would say, oh, you're being racist against white people or whatever. And, trying to erase whiteness. But I've heard a lot of responses to that. But because I think when you actually listen a little bit, and I've had a really good friend of mine who takes that sort of point of view. It's I guess I'm not sure what the name is. I don't want to like with Mabase, I don't want to like make a prejudgment at what his position is. There's some people who are sort of separatists. They sort of want to sort of form their own communities, and they'll invite sort of some white people in there as long as they've got like a certain sort of culture and they kind of get it. They've got enough spice and flavor to be able to enjoy some of the traditions or whatever. But yeah, it's not I mean in that situation I don't think there's inherently wrong, especially if you're sort of sick of particular things. Like there's when there's been a lot of racism or whatever, and then you got to explain certain aspects of culture or whatever, and then it'd be tiring. And there's some people who just want to sort of have their own kind of space themselves, and I think I'm libertarian on that ground. I think, well, why not? That's your prerogative. It's a slippery slope, but it's so I sympathize a little bit, probably because I know someone like I've got a good friend of mine who's kind of like that. He described himself as a separatist.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about because we have been in chats with that person as well.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's like once I knew getting to know him, it kind of changed. Like I don't know, I sort of saw it from a different perspective, and I thought I understand. I think.
Yeah.
I want to say hello to Tardolf and Electric Mayhem Ashley. Both in the chat. Hi.
Hi.
I still love that name, Electric Mayhem.
Mm.
Like there's some like phrases or words that just make me laugh, like no matter what, and I think that's one of them. Electric Mayhem.
Yeah, she doesn't take any bullshit.
Oh yeah,
No, she doesn't.
I mean, it's like she always says this person needs to be beat up by a large, heavy-set black woman, and I was like, "Are you volunteering?" Maybe.
Yeah, the mask. The mask was a custom job by Devin Wemple Effects. I think his name is Creepin' Static on Etsy. It was like $130, but I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah.
It is legit. Like it is quite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, some of those Etsy people, oh my God. Like, I have wasted time on it. Like, let's face it, I've wasted time on Etsy. Just looking at some of the things that are for sale that you could get people to make for you. Like, I don't know where I'm ever going to be able to wear a period perfect Renaissance gown with angel wings that are 8 feet wide. But if I ever find the correct thing, I know that there are places to go. So that's pretty hot. Like I people need to come up with an event so I can buy that and wear that.
Renaissance fair.
I do have an alternate one done by somebody else. This one's made out of PETG plastic, and it's a similar design, just like slightly different. It does have like a much better like back support system, and it's supposed to glow in the dark too. So it was kind of. I ordered the two at the same time because I need it for Halloween, and one of them got here first. But yeah, this was. If you want, you can go with a PETG plastic one for somewhat cheaper. Like this was $90, and it's still. It's much thinner, but it's still pretty good. So if you want to get your own retro Savini Jason mask, that would be my advice. To chat person.
I'm not a fan, I should say, for because of this conversation. I am not a fan of like a full separatist. I just don't.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that that's a workable solution in any kind of long-term situation. And believe me, I understand the impulse.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Because I don't think they ever sort of, because I was sort of telling you about a friend of mine, like I'm not going to reveal names or whatever, but he sort of says, because he obviously does make friends with white people. I think it's sort of a trope known as the spicy white person, like someone who's kind of open to the, like they're not going to carry their mayonnaise in their purse or whatever to replace the whatever. If you can't handle a spice, then stay out of that kitchen. That's sort of what that's the overall.
Well, I can totally understand that. I can understand, like when they talk about I want to say like safe spaces, or some of the arguments about safe spaces, or specific places where, say, Black people or women don't want for a little while, like, no, not here, bro. Take it and out. Like we don't need it right now. Like we don't need to deal with your crap right today. Like I get that. I totally get that. And I get also wanting people to have some sense like, no, come prepared. Do not come for us, come asking for us to like handhold you through this process every step of the way while stroking your ego. It's okay. You cookie? Let's have a cookie break. We could have a cookie. It's okay. Everything's gonna be fine. Like, I could totally get that. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Just we're not buying any of that here. You go sell it somewhere else, honey.
Where's the blood and thunder?
Like, so those kinds of things I can get. It's just like the full separatism, the full like, no. Yeah, well, I guess we had a very good example of that actually with the Covington kids. Because both and I've spoken a lot about how just the fucking racist asshole Covington kid. Like, stop it. Stop. Like, stop making excuses. And it's really the adults' fault. I don't even hold the kids because it's the adults.
Wow.
It's the adults who make excuses, let them do whatever the fuck they want, don't chaperone them, teach them this garbage, let them do whatever they want to do, and then buy PR firms to help them get out of it.
Well, they can, like John Brockman, I was on a podcast with him like earlier today, and he said, "Hey, if Trayvon Martin is not considered Trayvon Martin's considered an adult, then these kids with the MAGA hats are considered adults as well." So that's kind of a counterpoint.
I hope that I'm consistent though, because I have this thing that I don't consider anybody who's not 18 an adult.
Yeah.
Period. I don't care, black, brown, this, that. Like, 18 is my cutoff. Just boom. All right, but I've talked a lot about what racist assholes these guys are, right? And it's sexist, and just everything is wrong with them. And
they went to a March for Life. They went for a pro-forced birth thing. So it's like,
yeah, it's no thank you. No, thank you.
Like, there's so much that's already been said. It's kind of like, how can you even add to it anymore? You know, I mean, because there were so many takes like over the weekend. I mean, I was pretty on board with, you know, like, condemn them, and you know, then when like that thing came out with, oh, check out the longer video, and like it started getting like obscured, and you could tell that it was still like that they still were responsible, like they still did stuff, but I don't know. There was a Guardian article talking about like how it was successfully spun into.
Yeah, I think that it was this. This is such a big conversation. I don't want to start and get down the weeds.
We got another question.
It was spinning. Yeah. Right. It was just spinning because these kids were at.
It was undeniable.
It wasn't like. If you show me a video of Nathan Phillips smacking them, like, and then this video, that's appropriate context for what they did. But like the fact that there are, and again, if you've ever been in an urban center anywhere, if you've ever gone to any of these marches, you have run into like this Black Hebrew, I think is what they call themselves.
I think the Black Hebrews.
Black Islamists?
Yes. Well,
no, because they're Jewish. They consider themselves Jewish.
I think wasn't it like Black Israelite or something like that?
Black Israelite could be.
I think that was it.
Black Israelites. All right, so we'll say that. So those guys are assholes. Like, they're just assholes. They were assholes to Native American people. They were assholes to women. They were assholes to people of their own race. They were assholes to people of their other race. That's what they do. Like, I've been to enough of these marches and events and these things that I know you just kind of go, like, I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair. And you just keep walking up and don't pay him any attention. Like, that's how it is.
Oh my god, I'm now realizing that like some of those will just hang out on the street corners in downtown Seattle too. And so it's like I have seen them around as well. And so it's like
Yeah,
and I ignore them. I just walk past them and ignore them and just like go on my business.
Yeah, like the one thing that's
they're
one thing
hoteps.
that's common to a lot of there's a certain fragility that comes about where people sort of, I guess there's a certain narcissism where you sort of enter into a conversation that's not really necessarily about you, and you've got to sort of people feel a need to insert themselves into it, saying oh, but we're not all like that, like not all white people are like that, whatever, and you're sort of missing the point where it's an expression of pure sort of emotion. So you sort of, that should be a common sense conclusion when they say, well, they're not talking about every single person. But the product of that is, I think it's kind of the coddling of a certain. Well, I don't know how far many generations it spreads across, but it is usually a coddling where people sort of when you spend your whole life thinking there's an unconditional acceptance of just about everything that you do, and you coddle to think that all of your opinions are valid and wonderful and fantastic, and that kind of that child worshipping, I guess they call it. And there's a difference between unconditional love and unconditional acceptance of actions, and that seems to be blurred a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was a little distracted during part of that because I was talking with the chat, but I heard a couple really good points. So
Yeah, that's fine. I think it's additional beer time. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, I still have some of my wine, and I still have the bottle next to me, so I'll be good for now.
Who wants to hear me sing "Mabasai, Mabasai, Mabasai"? Get it again. Hopefully he does, because otherwise he's like, this fucking bitch. What the hell is her problem?
However his name is pronounced, he is cool, and I see him in a lot of like Lefty and live chats and stuff like that. So yeah, man. Now I'm a little drunk. The alcohol's getting to me. Oh my god, what to do now?
It's the greatest fun.
But I think it's a bit different. Sometimes some of the ideas of allyship or whatever, I think it's very, very different if it's if you got women who are talking about sort of sexual abuse or whatever, and there's going to be like a raw emotion that's going to come out, and also for if there's conversations about race or whatever. I find, and this opinion is not really popular, like sort of as a queer person or whatever, I find it to be a little bit different, the sort of allyship. I tend to do a lot of hand holding when it comes to that. Probably because some of the concepts are sort of fairly new, and it seems a bit more complicated because sometimes the allies, they themselves are probably in the closet, and that's sort of a point that I think it's a lot of people don't really think about. A lot of allies are probably, they might be dipping their feet into the water, thinking, hey, if I come here as an ally, then maybe I'll see what it's like, and then maybe I can be encouraged to come out. That could be part of the situation, and sometimes the physical danger that I see people sort of put themselves in. So I'm a little bit as I said before, I'm one of those people. I'm sort of too much of a peacemaker. I mean, I bake cookies and things like that. But that's when it comes to queer allyship. When it comes to other like spaces or whatever, it's like I don't really use that. So I don't really have the sympathy for kind of, I guess, fragility or whatever. It's it's a little bit different. That's the point. I'm not making a very coherent point, but yeah.
I'm getting your point. Like that. For some people, allyship, the idea of being an ally might be kind of like dipping your toe in the water.
Yeah.
In a very, in a way, in a place that's uncomfortable or difficult for you. And I get that. Like when the stream that we were talking about earlier, H-Bomb's stream, if I had wanted to, I could have probably gotten on that stream, because I know enough of the people involved
Mm-hmm.
that I could have like DM'd or, you know, begged Bard and come on,
You the Guelph
come
why don't
on.
you invite me on?
Like, but like I held back so hard, and your ego wants you to go on, right?
Yeah.
Your ego wants that.
I heard
And
eagle, and I was kind of confused for a second.
your sort of selfish, self-interested desire.
Yeah.
Is
But that stream
like
was
you want everybody to understand. I'm one of the good ones. I get cookies. Everybody should give me cookies. Cookies. And I know that that's there. Like
Yep.
that's there with me. That's there with other people. Like it's literally everybody. I don't know anybody in the world. Like I don't know who's the most famous person in the world. I don't care. They still want a cookie. Like
yeah. So like,
you know, they're just a thing. It's just a thing. So I think that we do have to both acknowledge that part of ourselves that has these sort of ego-based needs.
Mhm.
I know I'm coming at this as like with like this is some of the language of spirituality which I grew up with.
nothing
You
wrong
know,
with that.
these ideas of sort of Buddhism or Taoism or whatever that no, like literally my dad because he was really into the martial arts, he would say stuff like,
Oh, wow.
you know, mind like water, or teaching me to do Tai Chi or what have you.
Mhm.
So like I have these concepts that come out in times like this where I talk about things like that. And I think you just have to sort of acknowledge that you have these feelings and needs and be aware of them, and then move past them and say, as I tried to do, and I think I was successful in saying, no, how can I reshape this into a being about trans people? So that's when I did things like, all right, so I'm going to make a list of some really great trans and non-binary YouTubers that I love, and I'm just going to put them out there so that people can go and just do that. Because that's really what this is about. It's not about me. And if I make it about me,
Right.
what does that say about me other than I'm a fucking selfish, not really an ally, not really this, not really that kind of person? So it's hard.
It got kind of grim.
Yeah,
I wasn't making fun of Taoism, just for the record.
Oh, I'm
sorry. Just thought it was kind of uncommon. It's like, haha, new word.
No, you wouldn't expect someone like me necessarily to all of a sudden come out with Taoism, because I never talk about this aspect of like my life, and I never talk about these this sort of thing. So I totally get that. I didn't mean that.
Also, like Electric Mayhem 87 Ashley in the chat has like made a video months ago or something like that about performative allyship. It was more of a responsibility to someone, but it kind of touched on the main point of it, and something she also covered in other videos. Like allyship is not about me. It's not about you. It's about the other group, which is why I totally agree with you. It's just like you probably wanted to go on that stream with H. Bomber Guy.
Oh yes.
Yes.
I wanted, and I knew I could have bugged Casey.
Yeah.
Because she and I have known each other a long time. I could have done it, or at least in my head, I think I could have done it.
True.
Like, so that's basically for this argument the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Thinking you could have done it and being able to do it was the same thing, essentially. But it was like No, it's
Yeah.
not.
It's about trans people and their experiences, and so it's like, and that's what was really good about the H Bomber guy. Even though he is a cis guy, he was like holding off the stream and stuff like that. He did it for trans people, and he always like, and his like also the people behind the scenes and Casey and stuff like that were also trying to get trans voices onto that stream as well, especially like the CEO of Mermaids, but also they got like someone who was positively affected by the Mermaids charity and stuff like that, or like a trans woman who, or a trans person who needed a wheelchair or for to GoFundMe. And that was one thing that was amazing about that weekend. Not only was like the DK4 Mermaids hashtag was trending, or like H Brahman guy was trending, but also trans crowdfund was also trending, so that people, anyone who was like trans that said, hey, I could use some money, here's my Patreon link, I also do videos, and I also do like write articles, I'm an author, hey, check out my stuff and stuff like that. But a lot of people were also like, and I need I need some like money for like HRT or something like that, or I need money for like transition and stuff like that. And that was like one of the positive things that came out of that weekend, as well as just H Bomber got able to raise over $340,000 for Mermaids, and he thought he was only going to do like 5,000 or like 7,000 in that one thing, and to raise that much in that time over the weekend was incredible. And Chris also has to step away from the chat for a moment, but that's fine. We can continue to cover
while the cat's away.
I had a since you expressed an interest, this is that blueberry maple stout I was talking about. So I was waiting to crack it open until I could like show you the bottle and not hold it like over the computer when it was open.
Yeah, it's because honestly for me,
quite
yeah,
good.
that's cool. Yeah, because honestly for me, it's like I'm not that much of a beer drinker. It's like it always tastes bitter for me, so I don't like pale ales. I don't like IPAs and stuff like that. But
IPAs kind of suck.
Yeah. But dark beers like porters, like stouts, I can easily drink that. So we have this like brewery that's in the area. It only has 2 locations, like the Tap House in Renton and then the Bistro in Kent. Airway Breweries. Their list of their brews or their ciders or beers that they have, it's a little different each time you go in there. So they have like a new list that they have on the chalkboard that they change every so often for like things. And so, and so, one time I was there, they had a 13% stout, and oh my god, yeah, it's like it's 13% stout. It was so smooth, so sweet. And it's like it goes out, and they only give you 2 of that 13% stouts in one evening. They will cut you off because after I finished that 13% stout, I was like, oh
man, I have a story on that. So the strongest beer I know of is it's something called Molotov Heavy by Evil Twin Brewing. It is 17.2% alcohol, and it comes in a can the size of that Metallica one I was showing off earlier. And so and so on like New Year's, we were gonna go to this arcade bar, and so I opened it up because we were gonna leave in like a few hours, and so I was like sipping it earlier to try and save money on what I would spend at the bar, and I just kind of forgot I had opened it, and so by the time it was like, okay, time to go to the bar, there was about 2/3 of it left. So I had to chug it like really fast.
Oh god!
And,
no.
Oh man, it kind of hurt. Like it was a very flavorful beer. It was kind of fun to like have my friends like, here, try it, and they take a sip, like, ooh, that's really like, yeah, and like they basically made me chug it because we had to leave. And so I think I got more destroyed than I have in the last 2 years, like on New Year's Eve. Mostly due to that one beer. Like it's like a $10 can, but it was really good. So,
yep.
I mean, my preferred thing is just trying different beers. But there was also like a whole other thing that happened that I won't go into. It was a very strange New Year's. But
New Year's, you should have at least one really strange New Year's. Like you should. You should have a New Year's story that's just like a mess.
Oh, well, in that case.
I know I do. I think I have like 3. So
Well,
Now I'm
but I'm
feeling hungry.
older.
Now I'm feeling hungry for cookies.
well,
It's
I
like
guess it,
with that thing, it's like well, can't everyone just carry around their own recipe books and just go to their kitchen and make whatever cookies they like for themselves? That works a lot better.
I well, chocolate chip. I mean the classics. Come on, people.
Yeah.
But I'm also a big fan of oatmeal scotchies. Those are like they're oatmeal cookies with butterscotch chips. I love them so much.
Yeah, because I eat these ones. I forgot the recipe. It was even like a vegan made it, so I'm thinking it's got to be healthy. Or maybe not, but it's no, it's a chili sort of cookie. It's got like and I thought, wow, this is okay. I've got to have one. I've got to get the recipe for this and bake them.
Yeah, vegan cookies will be the cookies I will usually eat because I unfortunately have a moderate allergy to eggs, so I have to check the ingredients of everything that's made. It's because if it's made with eggs, it's not that it will kill me, so it's not that severe of an allergy. But I do carry an EpiPen just in case, which I haven't renewed anytime soon, and I just feel sick after I eat eggs. I vomit when I grew up, and so that's why a lot of cookies or a lot of pastries, a lot of donuts, it's like that. Unless I know it's not made with eggs, like if it's vegan, then I won't eat it. So I don't have that affinity for cakes or pies that everyone else has.
Yeah, I want the because I'll have to find it because it must have been a vegan recipe because it was made by a vegan. Came into the staff room once, and I was they were the best things I ever had. They were chili. They were very, very spicy, but oh god, they were good. Like chili, sort of. That's the whole metaphor. It's like, okay, if people think, oh, I should get a cookie for being like whatever, doing whatever things they do, and it's like, well, okay, well, find a recipe book and start baking if you want cookies.
I just remembered there's an excellent no-bake kind of recipe for a chocolate coconut cookie, stuff like that. Where it's you just have it harden overnight and something like that. And I was like, oh man, the chocolate and the coconut. And I love coconut, so it's I'm that kind of person who loves coconuts. Apparently that's a weird thing to like coconuts.
Oh no, it reminded me of, remember that really old Family Guy joke where they're at the party and he's cutting the cake and there's the girl still in the cake and he actually cuts into her face and she falls out and he's like, oh my god, and he tastes the frosting, coconut.
Oh.
Back when Family Guy was actually funny and shocking.
Yeah.
Season 3.
All right. On that,
I've grown it, but
I believe on this Q&A, I've gotten through 2 questions, possibly 3. We've been going an hour, so that's good. That's exactly where we should be, really, when you think about it.
You're supposed to be like the voice of moderation or whatever.
Yeah, and that's not really my thing.
We're all as bad as each other.
So
I don't want to interrupt the conversation, but then again, I elaborate and go on as tangents as well as I change hats every time.
So I'm gonna get back to the questions for a few minutes. Is it still okay to watch the Jeepers Creepers films despite its director-writer?
Victor Salva. Well, so I have kind of my own take on that. So
Great, go for it.
So for the people who don't know, Victor Salva is a horror director. He wrote and directed both of the Jeepers Creepers movies. Well, okay, all 3 of the Jeepers Creepers movies. And in the late 80s, early 90s, he did a movie called Clown House. And while he was filming Clown House, which I haven't seen it, so I don't know the plot or anything, but there was a young boy star who he molested on the set of Clown House, and he went to jail for a few years. Sort of an interesting trivia thing too. Because of that, Clown House was issued on DVD once, and because of that, it has never been reissued. So it's actually a $100 DVD if you find it laying around at a store. But But anyway, so he did time for it, and then when he got out, like Disney had him do a movie called Powder again, which I haven't seen, and then after that,
they had him do Powder after that.
Yeah, and then they fired James Gunn for like what were obvious jokes. But anyway, that's a whole different thing that I could rant about. But anyway, so it didn't really come out until like after like Jeepers Creepers 2 or so, and a lot of people are really polarized on, you know, like, should you support Victor Salva? So my personal take on it was, you know, Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2 already exist. There's really nothing you can do in terms of like boycotting them or anything. Like when Jeepers Creepers 3 was coming out, there was a big discussion on this, and my take on it was, it's like, okay, so the victim himself issued a statement. It's like, I mean, yes, what happened to me was awful. Like, basically the victim said it was okay for like Jeepers 3 to come out, and he was like, he didn't have a problem with like Victor Salva like making films. My personal take on it was, like, it's okay to like Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2. Let 3 come out. Don't give him like any support after that. It's like, let him make Jeepers Creepers, let him finish Jeepers Creepers 3, and that's it. Like, don't hire him anymore. Like, don't pay for Jeepers Creepers 3, by the way, because it's not very good on top of all this. So, I mean, that was my personal take on that. I mean, I know some people probably want to like outright boycott the franchise. I mean, having seen Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2 again after I had learned that about Victor Salva, like, it didn't diminish the viewing experience as much as I thought it would. Like, I can be really, really forgiving, probably too forgiving in a lot of ways. At least if I like the movie.
Hang on, I thought it was Star Wars. I thought it was Star Wars we were supposed to be boycotting for whatever reason.
I am not going to lie. I do hate the new Star Wars a lot. I thought Solo was okay, like, but I thought the people who wrote like The Force Awakens should be like publicly executed, like with guillotines.
Wow.
Wow.
But how did you really feel?
Well,
There's a really
to summarize it, like, the Star Wars movies were like a big, like, I've always had like a really strong imagination for movies, and so growing up, the Star Wars movies were kind of like the epitome of that. And about halfway through The Force Awakens, I started noticing, it's like, wait a minute, we're doing Death Star 3?
Yeah.
Like, there was a point where like all of my suspension of disbelief like came crashing down, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, they're on a set. Like, yeah, Harrison Ford doesn't want to do this anymore, so he's gonna die. Oh yeah, they killed him. And it was just like all the magic 100% died in front of my eyes. Like, it was indescribable, and it was like, wow, I really hate this. Oh my god. And so, I mean, that was the reason like why I didn't like it. And then, you know, you heard all of the honestly like ridiculous and stupid things. It's like, oh, there was a girl that was the main character. It's like, who cares? Did you see the rest of the movie? Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, most of the criticisms of it I thought were just outrageously stupid. But, I mean, I can forgive a lot if I like the story or had a good time watching it. I mean, when you're a horror fan, you kind of have to be.
I can see that. I can see that completely.
But anyway, you know, as long as Victor Salva doesn't make any money, it's okay to like the movie. That's gonna be my last word on that.
Soulless Ginger, like, this is a really, really good question. It's so how many leftists are either on the spectrum or represent well? So I feel vaguely alone in that regard, and I'm wondering if I should make some videos from a neurodivergent perspective. So that's like welcome to, like, you're certainly not alone, because there's like myself, like, I'm sort of on the spectrum, and plus I deal with a lot of social anxiety. So I imagine that, you know, there's probably situations that you probably couldn't be in. And so, like, with neurodivergence, it's like we often see activism where people think it's about holding up a picket sign and, you know, going around, you know, marching and protesting, and that kind of setting. That's just not going to be for everyone. Like, I'd probably melt down if I was in a if I was ever in like in a physical situation like that, you know. where there's a lot of people around, there's a lot of angry voices or whatever. I mean, but yeah, like by all means, if you make a video from a neurodivergent perspective, like that'd be received like really. I think a lot of people would appreciate that perspective, because a lot of us feel that way. And it's it's sort of hard, because there was one time where people were talking about sort of socialism or whatever, or they talk, and I was saying, well, I'd be useless at that, because I can't even function in a sort of situation with a lot of people, and people just say, well, everyone has a different role to play. I mean, there's a lot of intellectual heavy lifting that gets done in a lot of areas. Like even on the sort of men's liberation front, that's kind of like a kind of reform movement that swerves away from traditional, sort of MRA, and that's an example of a place where there's sort of, when it's in its earlier phases, there's a lot of intellectual labor that has to be sort of done to kind of figure ourselves out or whatever. And so everything that people do is valuable. Even like retweeting things or whatever, it's so you're never really alone when you've got that, and try to join streams or whatever. That's a good thing, and just contribute as much as. And with the stream, you can just turn your mute your microphone or something like that if you sort of feel a bit anxious or whatever. If there's too much going on, or you can't handle, or it might get a bit heated, then you just sort of mute yourself, and people won't really notice, especially if you're in a larger stream. Like that kind of helps.
Yeah. Or sometimes you'll be in a stream where you are falling asleep. At the
Can I
I've done that.
I want to interject because for a couple of things, and I'm going to come back to your points, which I think were really good. But I want to go back to the Salva thing because I didn't answer it myself, and I feel like people probably want. I'd like to have my answers on, and I do not think that supporting these kinds of people is beneficial.
Yeah.
Because, and the reason I don't think it is because there's a lot of people out there who would love to make these movies, these, they have great ideas, they have great concepts, and for some reason we have this this world that seems set up to promote abusers over the abused, and I think that that's the opposite of where we should, at least really we should be, beyond a world of abusers and abused people and like that kind of dynamic at all. But I think about this the same way I think about the Louis C.K. thing, which is that he destroyed a lot of people's fucking careers and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
They give a shit about him. They don't care about the people who he put in these terrible positions or drove out of the industry or had his fame and fortune PR people drive out of the industry or put them in terrible positions. And like, fuck that. Like, why am I so worried about this asshole? I'm not. He's a millionaire. I don't care. I want the people that would have had a chance had he not gone ahead and decided he needed to wank off in front of them, and then set his PR machine into attack mode if they actually decided to talk about it, because like that's a thing. Like, no, just there's nothing that Jeepers Creepers has added to the world that another person could not. And I think that like this is the thing. Like, this is the same thing with Kavanaugh, where we act as if taking away fame, fortune, wealth, power is the same thing as taking away a person's basic ability to function in society. Like, I'm not going to be on the Supreme Court. I'm not going to be making $1 million movies or multi-million-dollar movies, rather, and neither you or you or you. And yet our lives are fine. We're fucking fine. Like, that's why I think that we should, it hurt me personally that Woody Allen turned out to be the kind of person that he was.
Yep.
It, like, that kind of, damn, ouch, a little bit. And I probably should have seen it coming, but I did not. And so it hurt me a little, all right? It did. That's fine. It's over now. It's done. I'm done with him. There are other people out there. There are people that he destroyed that could have gone on to do great things. And I'm not gonna, like, fuck him. Just fuck him. He got his chance. He fucked it up. That's him. Yeah. Like, we need to stop tolerating this kind of shit. And we need to accept that we have a system that somehow has managed, in various different ways, has managed to put these people, not just not put them last, but get them so that they're first. And I think there's a lot to that. I think it's complicated. I think that there is, when you look at gymnastics coaches and kids movie stars and horror stars, like, it's all the same thing. Like, we are incentivizing sociopaths and abusers somehow, and we need to fucking stop that shit.
Yeah, blacklist him from the industry, which is essentially what's happened too. Like, when Creeper 3 was
never done
out,
Powder.
Like a lot of people were really against Jeepers Creepers 3 coming out after it had already been, like, completed, and it was like, what are you going to do at this point? Just, like, boycott it? Like, what impact would that have really had? Like, some impact? Maybe, but well, probably more so with the newer one. But with the older ones, I mean, they'd been out for like 20 years. So what effect would that have really had? It's like, I'm not going to spend, another dollar on this when it's already been, like, profitable for like 20-something years. Like, that was sort of relating to, like, the Weinstein Company and, like, Harvey Weinstein. Like, I was seeing things like, boycott all Harvey Weinstein productions. Then when you look at it, that's actually something like 40% of all movies made in the last 30 years. So
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Like, how
and
can
that would mean, of course, hurting all of the actors and writers and director, like, all the people that had anything to do with him, which was everybody. Exactly. Like, I get that. And I hope it doesn't sound like I was, I understood your point. I didn't disagree with anything that you said. I wasn't, I just wanted to put forward my own personal.
It was a good take, and it's, like, worth hearing.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to be sure that, I kind of have, like, a practical approach to a lot of problems too. It's like, well, what can you actually do? I mean, there can be, like, a lot of, like, bluster about something, it's like, I'm doing this, but you have to, like, look at, does it actually make a difference? Will it actually get your point across, or will it just not really mean anything in the end? I could have worded that a lot better, but I've had quite a bit of beer, so sorry.
This is the drinking stream. We finally got the left version of the drunken peasants, as we are at the
good Lord, please.
They used to be kind of more left. I used to really like, when I first got on YouTube back in, like, 2014-ish, like, they were, like, my favorite thing to watch. Like, I love them so much, and then, like, they had, like, the whole split up, and I don't know, it's just all really sad. Like, I miss the YouTube that we had in, like, 2014, when, like, Sargon wasn't evil, and, everybody got along.
Well, I don't remember that, but I do.
It's been a long
when
time.
did I start?
For a while.
I can't even remember now when I started. It's probably been like a 2015, 2016, probably 2016 when I started. TJ Kirk has called me a bitch multiple times. That's okay. That's fine.
I did not know that.
But that's all right. No, I've called him I've had some choice words for him as well. So
somebody in the chat, with the whole She-Ra controversy in big quotations, there was so much like I kind of follow some of these like anti-SJW people just to laugh at their like craziness. And it was like, you know what the hell are they so upset about? And I watched it and it's like, this is a normal kid show. Like, this is fine. I watched the entire season. I ended up kind of liking it anyway. So, I mean,
I love She-Ra. I'm so glad that these assholes came out and had this fit. This horrible fit. Because I'd never have watched it. Like there's no chance that I would have gone onto Netflix and saying, what I really need to watch is the new She-Ra. Because the old She-Ra is so fucking awesome that I need to watch this one. Like no. That never would have happened. But they did. And so I did watch it. I was like, this is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch too many cartoons because I have kids.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of things that I wanted to address too, which is the question about from Soulless Ginger. Because I think, and I think Lonely Wolf, you got a lot like bang on there that people should not judge. Like my son has Asperger's. Okay, my oldest son has Asperger's. He's in his 20s now. He's an engineer. Mabasea has been asking me about my kids' ages, and there's a big gap between my oldest son, whom I had when I was a teenager, actually, and then was a single mother for a long time, and then got married and later in life and had 2 younger kids, and my youngest kid is 4. So like big gap. So that's all right. But yes, my oldest son has Asperger's, and I know that he could never be in a crowd. But that isn't, we shouldn't judge people by our standards, because if a person who is on some sort of autism spectrum, it's just intensely difficult for them to have that much sensory input. And that's okay, because there are so many other things that everybody can do. And I think that when you talk about socialism, I hope that, because I actually asked this question myself when I first came in. There was I had like a question for socialists, or a question, I think it was questions for socialists, where I sort of said, you talk a lot about workers, but what about people who aren't going to work in the traditional sense? Is this a thing? And I got a lot of really good answers from people, so that was awesome that I had that. But one of the things that they talked about was we don't necessarily mean what you would mean when you say workers. We're talking about sort of a class structure. Yeah. Right? Not necessarily the act of, being out there and with a hammer or whatever. So I think that for me, capitalism, and I'm a person who worked with people who had a lot of different kinds of disabilities. Capitalism tends to group people based on how how productive they can be, how much they can contribute in that sense, how much they can put forward in terms of creating profit for the people that they want. And I don't think that is I would hope that in socialism, at least theoretically, because I'm a socialist, I'm not a capitalist. I don't think capitalism could work anymore. Like, I gave up on the idea that capitalism could ever get fixed.
Same here. Yeah.
At some point, that was what it was. Like, it's always more difficult, I think, to radically change than not. So, like, you kind of want to say, well, is there some way we can, like, we'll just tweak and we'll fix? And I've given up on that idea. Like, I don't think that that's possible anymore. And I would hope that with a way of looking at human beings that isn't so cost-benefit analysis, that we could actually open it up and make it more about everybody, like everybody having an inherent worth as humans and being this incredible gift to the universe. Like, nobody here can say for sure that there's life anywhere else in the universe, right, than us.
Yeah.
Which makes us extraordinary. We might, even if there is life elsewhere in the universe, we may never encounter it. We may never know. We may never, like, even be able or have the capacity to interact with it, which again makes us just like an oyster threw itself at you from the sea and just threw a pearl into your hand, kind of rare in the world of rocks, in a universe of lifeless rocks and dead stars and black holes. We are, each and every one of us, animals, people, plants, just extraordinary in our value, right? And I'm stealing that from somebody. I have a video about that somewhere, but it's like, I didn't come up with that, but that's how I feel about it. That's where I get my humanism from.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I've rambled a lot. I'm so sorry. I don't even know where I am now.
I'm actually having, it's past lunchtime now, so it's like I always get a little bit jealous because usually the streaming, like when the peak drinking hour is usually like morning for me, so it's a little bizarre. So it's like, okay, it's like it's now past lunchtime here, so you know I can indulge in something.
Cheers.
Cheers.
You can always have a Bloody Mary or a mimosa. Those are just like freebies.
Yeah. Ancient demons. Why does he eat people? I don't know.
What?
Well, so the creeper is never quite explained in really any of the movies. Like, there's a comic miniseries. It's like 5 issues put up by Dynamite Comics last year that kind of delves into the creature's origins like a little bit. Where are they? Well, I think if you go to a comic shop and just ask, "Hey, I'm looking for Jeepers Creepers," they can probably help you out. But that's what the miniseries is called. It's just Jeepers Creepers, so you can do a search for it and see if you can find it. But they kind of intentionally keep the creeper vague in terms of like what it is. Like, it's more or less like a demon that like prolongs its life by like taking parts from its victims, like in the movies. And the comic series suggests that it's been doing this for a very, very long time. Like, there are flashbacks of it like in Aztec temples and everything. So they do keep it vague, but they try to explain a little bit. It's kind of I don't really understand it myself, and that's kind of the whole idea. Like, they don't want you to have the whole picture of what the creeper really is. That was actually a plot point in Jeepers Creepers 3. Like, near the end, like, they're like, we know what you... Like, it's about to get them, and they're like, we know what you are, and then they say something to it that we don't get to hear, and it kind of, like, backs off and leaves them alone. And it's like, oh, shit, what was that? But, I know a hell of a lot more about this than I thought I did.
I want to touch on a little bit back to I always said genders, gender. I'm drunk. Question about people
everybody's
on.
drunk.
Yeah. Well, yes. Well, now Lonely Wolf has finally joined us. It's past noon. Apparently, once it's past noon, it's acceptable to drink on the weekends, at least. Mm-hmm.
Try and stop me.
People on the spectrum being welcome in leftist spaces. I was like, some of the anarchists comrades that I have met, they're also on the spectrum too. So, and I had to remember that ableism is so a big problem here in the system of capitalism and something like that. And so I gotta be aware of that in my activism as well. And when I am promoting social justice advocacy, something like that, because ableism is a form of a coercive, unjustifiable hierarchy, and so I was like, as an anarchist, I have to be against that as well as all other coercive, unjustifiable hierarchies. So don't worry, Source Ginger, you're not alone.
Oh, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
In terms of, can leftists be on the spectrum? Like, I'm sitting here on the internet wearing a Jason mask and doing political points in movie maniac trivia. So you're good. I'm on the spectrum too, and I'm here. That sounded a lot more encouraging in my head. I am sorry.
That's fine. I mean, also it's well, you mentioned earlier before, I'm a weirdo. It's hey, weirdness is totally acceptable. I watch anime. There's I try to explain. I don't know. I don't know. Well, there's certainly an acceptable limit, I guess. Yeah, I think I'll stop there.
I was kidding. I was just taking a playful poke at anime.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, I never dare because I never ever judge anyone for their taste. Because I'm still one of those people who watches the Love in the Afternoon soap operas. the American sort of one. So, that's pretty much my popular culture. And the Real Housewives as well. I get hooked into that.
Oh, sorry.
And that way, and the room went awkwardly. It's shocking, isn't it?
No, I was focused on what's happening in the chat, so I was going to respond to something I said in the chat.
You're really good. Has anybody asked any other questions? Because I'm
there was Kevin Logan has just entered the chat. Hello, Kevin Logan.
Hello.
Dead Finny has just joined the chat too. Dead Finny said kitty. So Dead Finny is here, Kevin Logan's here, and lots of other awesome people.
Kevin Logan should meet my cat. Hi, Kevin. This is
but not my bird.
Meiji.
Don't let him. He's not meeting my bird.
He won't be on the screen. See, this is Mage. This is my little kitty. Give it a... Does not want me to cuddle him anymore. All right, so hi, Kevin. Hi. Who else? I don't remember. I've been drinking, so...
Everything's in the chat. Libertarian Sanity Project was also earlier in the chat. See, any other questions? Mamba Say also asked a question related to Jeepers Creatures. Why is it he's only harmed by his weapons and stuff like that?
I already addressed that in the chat.
That's
so right. There's both a suggestion that it uses some kind of metal, but only it knows how to work. The more plausible explanation is that since it's some kind of supernatural creature, the stuff it makes is somehow imbued with some of its power. Again, a lot of the stuff that they leave intentionally vague, so I don't know. I just have my best guesses. But that's the best answer I think I can give you.
All right, so Kevin wants to know what his name is. This is Mage. My oldest son named him. I wanted to, his original name was Kitty. And he was a rescue. And when we got him, he had almost none of his fur left. He had been locked away in some house somewhere. He was covered in fleas. He had almost no fur. And so we knew the people who knew the people, blah, 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 blah. And they were like, well, we need somebody to take this cat. And now he is this beautiful creature that you see today. Here, look, you're a superstar. Superstar. Yeah, little purry. I wanted to name him
the creature that's some sort of. They're talking about some sort of monster getting. Is that still a thing from Jeepers Creepers or something like that? They're speculating about who it is and how it gets killed and what metal it's sensitive to. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how out of control that's gotten. Sorry.
Yeah,
guys.
I mean, I just said, well, look, wherever Ann Coulter came from, you'll probably.
Maybe that's probably not too far off, to be honest.
Ann Coulter, Donald Trump, Ben Shapiro, wherever they came from.
I don't know if she eats flesh in the same way, but I would assume like close.
I wanted to say to both Marty and Pascal, who could not be with us because they weren't feeling well, that I hope you guys feel better. Pascal. Everybody get plenty of rest and fluids and please feel better.
Don't die.
That's why I'm drinking alcohol. It's sort of fluids, right? That's my excuse.
No, it isn't. It really is not. So, but that's okay. You're feeling fine. So you're good. All right. So who got SRG all fucked up and who is driving him home? SRG is home. So
yes. I don't drive anyway, so I don't have to worry about it. How am I getting home? Well, I kind of have to worry about how I'm getting home, but I don't have to worry about should I drive because I don't.
Oh, Marty, Marty's with us. Hey, girl, how's it going?
Hello.
I hope you have some tea. Do you have tea? Maybe a cool cloth on your head. I hope you feel better. I haven't seen these Jeepers Creepers movies.
I like how it's completely taken over the chat.
Completely.
Yeah, I've seen them, but
I don't care.
I don't know, it didn't really.
They're honestly
really
it's England, yeah.
It's England. There's just obsessive monsters in England.
I haven't seen Jeepers Creepers yet. I did see Gremlins. I like that. I did see Critters. I did like that.
Critters is awesome.
Now I'm not a connoisseur of the horror genre. I mentioned that in my video for Hereditary, which I thought was amazing, though. But hey, it's like if it's good entertainment or a good story, put it in front of me and I'll enjoy it. And I think I can get behind the tropes or the kind of like cliches and like the horror slasher fiction and stuff like that, or the horror slasher fiction entertainment. I can definitely get behind it too. And besides, there's definitely great art in like any genre or any like medium. I know I'm an anime fan.
Well, if you really want to punish yourself, you could see the original The Last House on the Left, which I saw for the first time a couple months ago, and it has like a reputation as being like really extreme. Most of the time, those older movies don't really live up to that, but oh my god, I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew every like scene in the movie going in, and it was still like so intense and like upsetting. Like I almost cried. I came really close to crying a couple times. Like it was holy crap. And then you hear the stories about like what happened when it was first like shown in theaters. Like people were throwing up, people were screaming, people tried to climb into the projection booth and stop the movie. Like I fully believed that. So I mean, if you have a sensitive constitution, like stay away from it, like because it will like put you into a coma. But I mean, that was the scariest movie I'd seen in a long time. So
okay. Well, a couple more questions from the chat. Jonathan Swills asked Curiosity,
Yep.
Did you find your doggy?
Come here, Harmony. Come here. Let's make you a star. This is my doggy. Yeah. This is Harmony. Oh, I'm sorry. How you doing? See, the thing you should know about Harmony is she has one little quirky ear and one very straight ear everywhere she goes. And she is beautiful and sweet and likes to hang out with Mommy all day. Yeah. Except when she's being naughty and running away. What were you thinking? Yeah. So, yep, we found our Harmony.
Now, a very important question from the king of the SJWs, Kevin Logan. That's the wrong one, but I don't care. Which would you prefer, feet for hands or hands for feet?
Hands for feet, obviously. That's
hands for feet, just like an Aeon Flux. Come on,
please.
Hand feet too.
What is this? A gimme question? Here.
I don't know. Oh, somebody in the chat was like, read books like Beast, and it's like, oh yeah, he could do that. Great idea.
Oh yeah, Beast like from X-Men. That's right. That's totally right. Yeah, obviously hands for feet. Come on, is this even a question?
Hands for feet. Come on, please, people.
These.
Hang on one second, guys. I gotta go offline for just a second.
Okay, we'll talk amongst ourselves.
Yes, talk, please.
On our handset feet since well, there's another
3. Sweet. Now I want to see Sharknado 3. I dodged a lot of those because they were just like the joke wore thin. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
maybe I'll check the rest of them out. It got a really nice. The whole series got a really nice like steelbook collection Blu-ray. It didn't have a whole lot of like resale value, but I think I just kind of want to see Ann Coulter die now.
Yeah. I think that was some of the appeal for like the remake of like A House of Wax, because like Paris Hilton was in it, and like she dies in that one too. So what do you conversation starter? Oh, the USA's government has finally reopened. Yes, finally.
What a clusterfuck.
Yes, it was a clusterfuck. Now, it's like my opinions on that is like, well, yes, Nancy Pelosi kind of like didn't like cave into like Donald Trump's demands for money for a wall. He never got that, and actually pulled the thing of saying like, no, Donald Trump, you're not going to do the State of the Union while this shutdown is happening. But like, I think the biggest thing that like brought the shutdown to the partial shutdown to finally end was the union of the TSAs and the flight attendants banding together. It's like, okay, this has gone way too long. We are working half staff for no pay. We can't do this anymore. So we're not going to come into work, and thus forcing the airports to shut down, which also like not only stops like air traffic going in and out of the United States for the most part, but also stops businesses from having their airplanes fly all over the place in the world and in and out of the United States. So business was halted, and that was enough for like, okay, Trump, you gotta like end the shutdown. Okay, I will end this shutdown. We have come to a deal. We have come to an agreement, and so yay for the TSA unions that brought the end to the government shutdown. See, people, unions are good. Unions are awesome. We should all be unionized.
Yeah,
Agreed.
it was like the LaGuardia controllers that kind of saved everybody.
Yep.
I listened to a lot of Chapo Trap House, and they're talking about, it was probably what's going on? There's like a lot of motion.
I don't know.
Oh.
What?
I was listening to a lot of Chapo Trap House, and they were like, I bet Rudy Giuliani, like when he's trying to get out of New York, was like, oh, the LaGuardia controllers like went on strike, I can't leave, and that would have been it. Like they were kind of joking, but you can kind of see it being something that stupid and petty that would have actually ended the shutdown.
Well, it got so bad that of like TSAs like working half staff and like overtime or like and no pay that this was posted that they've had children actually help out at that, and it's like, so I'm going to like post a link into the live chat and the group chat. Well, no, I'm going to screen share a bit.
I remember seeing some images of that. I kind of wonder, like, I know people give like the TSA like a lot of shit, but I kind of wonder what some of the effects of like having fewer TSA agents were actually were on air travel. Because a lot of times they seem kind of superfluous, like they just exist like to annoy people. You know what I mean?
No, well, the people I know who traveled in this time period did not have a good time. So it did not work out. So
I have mostly selfish reasons. Like I went to California and went to this brewery, and like the TSA, it's like, I'm trying to bring this bottle opener on the plane. They're like, oh, what's this, a knife? And it's like, it's a bottle opener from the brewery that's right over there. We can see it from the window. Oh, okay, yeah, you can take it. It's like, how are you alive? Like, I don't.
I literally just grabbed some stuff and just threw it in the trash. It's like, fine, let me on. I don't want to deal with you. Last time I traveled,
this was $15. It was coming with me.
Yeah. It's having trouble maintaining your air travel infrastructure because the shutdown means your workers aren't getting paid. Have your agency hold up, bring your child to work day and involve them in unpaid labor. And so, yeah, video evidence of a child helping out the TSA during the shutdown. So, yeah, I'm glad that's no longer a thing anymore.
Yeah, me too. Like it needed to stop. Oh, God, it needed to stop. But it's like it's not like our government is going to work great now.
True.
Yeah. So, people on SNAP, like we already got our benefits for February, like 2 weeks early. And so I'm kind of wondering if people are actually going to get their benefits for March as well. Because it was, from what I've been told, it was if the shutdown didn't end like before March, like people weren't going to get their March benefits. And now that it's been reopened, are people still going to get like their regular amount in March, or what's going to happen? Like nobody seems to really know a whole lot of anything yet. So I mean, that's another like source of uncertainty in people's lives. In addition to all the countless people that were on like housing assistance or whatever else they needed. Not to mention the actual employees that were like furloughed or whatever the right term is.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, and then there's also the whole thing. It's like, oh, yeah, well, we're reopening it for now. Like, that's one thing that a lot of people are kind of missing.
It's only going to be open for 3 weeks.
Exactly. And so then what happens if, people still haven't gotten like their benefits funded, will this affect people's FAFSAs? There are just so many like cascading effects that we just don't know the outcomes of yet. So I think that's something to really watch like in the next few weeks. And then, if he ends up, shutting it down again or doing whatever stupid bullshit he has planned.
The national emergency, for the border crisis. He mentioned that in the speech of like, I could have done this one thing, but I won't. Anyway, more questions. There are more questions. Aren't our hands technically feet since we were primates?
Sure, why the fuck not?
Yeah. And then another important question from Kevin Logan. Is Yoda gay? Why not?
Yoda gay.
How would we know?
I mean, yeah, it's like, well, one thing is like, for sure in the text, we don't know for sure in the text because there's the one thing of like, yeah, the writers of Solo, the movie, which I also liked, I also thought it was pretty good for a young Indiana Solo in an action film, an adventure film.
Okay.
Yeah. Lando Calrissian was the best part. Danny Glover as Lando Calrissian was definitely the best part of like the movie. The writer of the writer of that movie said that Lando Calrissian is pansexual, but we didn't see it in the movie. So it's like, so I can definitely say to answer to Kevin Lowe's questions, in the text we saw, we didn't see anything explicit that Yoda is gay, and so
I think I would take Yoda as asexual.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Well, and
I can definitely see that.
I mean, what a fantastic! For someone like me, what a fantastic representation for like an asexual. Like that's the best. That would be if they actually came out and like made that like canon. That would be the best. Like for someone like me, that would be like I'd have bragging rights.
Yeah.
Shouting stuff.
But like that's my. At no point during the entire, like I'm thinking back to the prequels, I'm thinking to, I see no sign that in all 900 years of his life was Yoda ever partnered with anybody or having, like, we don't know about him having a sexual relationship with anyone. I never see any hint of that.
Exactly.
Not with any of the people that he is. I can't think of a single hint of that. And in fact, yeah.
In episode 1, there is another member of Yoda's species, like on the Jedi Council. Her name's Yaddle, and I think they're a female. So I think it's a male-female like species, but we never see any of Yoda's relationships in any way. So, I mean, it's totally open.
He did ride on a guy's back, but he rode like piggyback style, like as a child would. And I didn't get a sexual sense from that. Like maybe other people did. I did not.
And besides, it's totally okay for people to like read that for this, even though it's not explicitly expressed in the text as well. So like, and people do that all the time. It's like, I think these characters are queer, and so I'm going to see them as queer and stuff like that.
Yeah, Jonathan Schweiss. I'm with. I really can't. With Chapo Trap House, there's something about them that is just a block for me.
They can be kind of mean sometimes, but I don't know. It's hard to describe.
I have not listened to a single Chapo Trap House like stream or anything like that, so I have no opinion on them.
Sometimes they make me laugh so hard I have convulsions.
Well, that's good. Like maybe I just need to listen to more. Like the things that I've listened to so far, which aren't so many things, leave me just going, I don't care.
Some episodes are definitely better than others.
I prefer looking at the UK charts for like interesting music because I enjoyed dance hall and anything that comes from that anything that comes from any sort of like places like Ghana or even places like that still has a Caribbean influence, and when it gets combined with the electronic beats, that's what I'm into.
Yeah, and yes, this is a fez. It's the Boba Fez. This is the Boba Fett Fez and stuff like that. Solus Ginger mentioned that earlier in chat when I put it on. From Comrade Laszlo, Master Yoda, is that your lightsaber poking me, or are you just happy to see me?
Wouldn't that like instantly burn through your body if he was poking you with it? Like, I get the joke, but
why do we need?
what?
This is the same thing. Like why do we need heteronormativity? Why do we need sexual normativity in these things? Like, why can't, I don't know. Like, I really feel like we should be open to the idea that there are of just not having label, of just being sort of beyond this. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or outside of this. Like, not that there's anything wrong with being inside of it either.
Mm-hmm.
I just really, I don't know.
Well, sometimes with questions like that, it's like, you know, it's like, well, if you want into these, sure. I mean, we have no proof in any direction, so, you know, if it makes you happy, like, go for it.
I think
that's
Mark Hamill
say to some questions.
Mark Hamill said that himself. If you feel that Luke Skywalker is gay and you feel happy to think of him as gay, that's totally fine. Go ahead and do that. There's nothing wrong with that interpretation of the character of Luke Skywalker.
Exactly, and that's I think probably the best take on the is Yoda gay thing. It's like, do you want to be gay? Sure, you do.
I definitely agree with asexuality. That's just like everything clicks in my head. It's like, that's, yes, I can totally see that. Monk life, like, he's just on a swamp. He's just in Dagobah, just hanging out. That's
also fine. He can be asexual.
Yeah.
That must be the reason why maybe that's possible. I mean, not that should be the only reason, because when it comes to that sort of thing, I don't think that having the same sort of like identity or whatever, or sexual orientation should be, you know, a means in which you connect with that particular character. But I sort of thought, yeah, it's on some level, I thought, oh, I kind of understand that. Like, I always loved his little hut that he lived in or whatever. I thought I could see myself doing that.
Oh,
he's alone there too. Yeah.
And also, like, even just the way that he, like, in when he talks to Anakin, and Anakin is so worried about the people that he loves dying, and he's like, death. Like, I mean, what I mean by that is not that that's a symptom of asexuality, but that is a way of looking at interactions with people and with that is outside of the norm. Let's put it that way. Like, he doesn't necessarily think about or appreciate the way that I feel like I'm making a mess of this.
Like the spiritual detachment, like aspect of like the Jedi.
Right. There's a detachment there that he
almost like Buddhism, like
exactly, where he doesn't see that this answer is kind of like is a lot like if somebody said, but I'm so fucking horny, and you were like, think beyond the blood and the bone, my son. You know, like, that wouldn't necessarily
want that blood.
No, I want. You know,
how
like,
that person's gonna think in response to that.
I feel like this is going in a bad place. I apologize to Lonely Wolf. This is how I'm processing this.
That's actually quite accurate for a lot of us. It's kind of ironically, I'm actually good at giving advice for people on, you know, probably because maybe you're detached and you have a more objective view of the way people interact with, and I sort of sympathize with it. And it kind of, it's very voyeuristic in a certain way, because you are kind of, you are crossing a divide between like male and female when you're sort of the sense of being sexless or whatever, as being asexual. So I sort of look at some of the everyday interactions between men and women, and I think I need to step in and like tell you guys where you're going wrong.
Another important question: does Yoda get Netflix?
Oh, for
Well,
Christ's
he
sake.
there better be Netflix on Dagobah. I mean, he's got to watch Nailed It. No, Nailed It. Funny that cake is. Nailed It. She has.
Does Yoda get Netflix? What? I'm kind of bewildered. I'm going to send my proton torpedo down your exhaust shaft. Oh, okay.
How romantic.
Whoever commented that.
What's your opinion on Naya Greer's new album? I don't know that artist.
Who?
What?
I'll copy and paste the question into our group chat.
Oh boy. Okay.
We have a group chat.
If it's if it's new, I haven't seen it. I haven't listened to it.
Yeah, I haven't listened to I don't have that strong. I don't listen to all the new music that is getting out and stuff like that. It comes out and stuff like that. So I wouldn't have an opinion either. How the Centrons are a entire race of pansexual aliens. So I think in the world of Star Wars, anything is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to read the books the way everybody else read Harry Potter in the 90s. That was how I read Star Wars books. And that more or less bears out. I mean, it was a pretty open policy on what you could add to the canon or to the universe. So there was something for everybody.
I think Star Wars. I think the thing that may have ruined Star Wars for me is I was too much. I had too much Freud going through my head with everything the lightsabers and the Sarlacc pit, etc. It's I had so much. And that's. I mean, I blame it on I don't know what's. Who was I reading this book?
Camille Paglia.
Yeah, that's exactly. And she's kind of. I don't politically. I really hate some of her points of view, but then I do like her. What she's very good as a cultural critic and as an art critic, and to talk about literature and art. What makes her good at that is her brazenness. That makes her good at that, but that also lets her down in the political sphere. That kind of that same type of approach that lets her down, where she really goes down some really weird paths. But yeah, I think that kind of ruined it for me. Sexual persona. I think okay, I've read that, and then I watched Star Wars after that, and I start looking for all these.
The Sarlacc pits. That is a giant vagina dentata right there. The Sarlacc pits. You cannot unsee it now. You cannot unsee it now.
I think that's what Chris Yoshin and I think we kind of talked about that one book, and we kind of. Yep. I think we're both sort of surprised at the number of the anti whatever you want to call them, the so-called skeptics who kind of praise her and they put her on a pedestal. It's have you actually read what she's...
No.
I think
if
they would
they
be
had
shocked.
read it, they would never endorse it.
No.
Because it's just the anti-SJW, because it's just she's such a fucking degenerate.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? She's so she celebrates degeneracy. She is she lives for that shit, right? And she sees it even it's if I made you I don't know. Sorry.
I think there are few things that I hate more than that whole right-wing thing of degeneracy, which is just a catch-all for literally anything and everything. It's people kissing, degeneracy. And it's what the fuck are you talking about?
Anything that's outside the normal sexuality or gender stuff. The exciting stuff I say is degeneracy.
Or even the normal stuff, at least what they would consider normal. Even that, a lot of that is degeneracy. Oh, it's you slept with someone you're not married to. Degeneracy.
Yeah. I mean, because she herself is someone who's come out as saying that I'm neither man nor woman. She's pretty much Geek and I kind of fits into that non-binary, and that's sort of where a lot of that I kind of did relate to sexual persona in some way, because that's the way, like, as someone who's sort of in that non-binary thing, I could kind of connect to a lot of the ideas based on that. It was, I don't know, somehow sort of affirmed from a cultural point of view, like it was a different perspective about androgyny itself. So that's probably why. But then that doesn't mean that I'm going to be very critical of like a lot of her other, like when I read essays she's written or when she speaks. Of course, I'm going to be critical. I don't agree, but I just think she makes the mistake of like putting a lot of that stuff out. Whereas some of the actual work, if it's literature or art, like she does I think she's a wonderful writer. I enjoy it, but it's like that same approach, that brazenness, like that sort of lets her down in the political sphere. That's why it kind of like so many people just cannot relate to that sort of stuff, because it's
I honestly think, I don't think that there's a way. I don't think they could have read through the introduction and
Yeah.
and like been like, yeah, this is our girl. Like, no,
it was very uncomfortable to read the introduction. It's basically that women are the superior sex and men are exile, so that's why they made art and they built Puritan.
like like all of her opinions are kind of I don't even want to say they're extreme. They're not extreme necessarily, but they're very lateral from what the conventional wisdom would be. Does that make sense? Is that the way you would say it?
That's the way that I perceive as well.
Kind of contrarian.
She's important to read, but it's at the same time, well, I actually do encourage people to read, because maybe that sort of get a different perspective, thinking you can't just put people into boxes or whatever, because you can't really nail someone like that. And as we said before, like, because Christias and I, we both like said that a few times, we're thinking, you guys who are sort of in that skeptic crowd, you obviously haven't really you have not
read her if you think that she is Christina Hoff Sommers. She's not.
Or Jordan Peterson, for that matter.
Or Jordan Peterson.
We're related to Jordan Peterson. And the last question from Marty Abernathy. Have you ever seen Yoda, Kermit the Frog, and Jordan Peterson in the same room together?
No.
That's
I have not.
Yoda.
No. Hey.
Yoda stuff.
Before, like, honestly, Yoda, part of the group that made the original Yoda puppet also were Henson puppeteers.
Exactly.
That I'm a huge fan of. Yeah. The Froods, I love the Froods.
Fraggle Rock.
Frouds. Those were the puppeteers. They worked on the Dark Crystal, which I will.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, we did an episode of that on Inside Movies Galore.
Oh my god, I should click that.
Yoda and Jordan Peterson would be like postmodern philosophy. A lot you still have to learn, young Padawan.
Cultural Marxism.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
I hate that guy so much. So much. Oh,
the storyteller, yes.
Buckle, have cleaned your room, you.
Clean something, all right.
I don't know.
Yoda, there's no clarity in this swamp that you're living on. Like, it's a Dionysian dissolution. Like, you need to move somewhere where there's more clarity. This swamp is clouding your thoughts, and well, that sounds like something he would say about a swamp.
It just makes me think of that, like, Feng from Clue, where like the lady's explaining like why she killed like a bunch of people, and she's just like, just I don't know, just flames on the side
on the side of my face. This heathen breath,
and she's just like spouting nonsense, and everybody's like, okay. God damn, it was a great movie.
That was a great movie.
And also a great piece of entertainment by the Henson Company, The Storyteller. Oh my god, this past year.
Oh, I love The Storyteller. You're so right.
Like this past year in 2018, I did get to see The Dark Crystal for the first time in the movie theaters because fans events like put it. Because fan events like put it out in the theaters, but also the next month they did The Labyrinth, which it's it's not as good as Dark Crystal and doesn't hold up as well. There's some scenes that doesn't need to be in there. That's my point. But before the show, The Labyrinth, they showed an episode of The Storyteller, and it's the best one of all of them. The Soldier, Death and Soldier. Oh my god! But The Storyteller is awesome. Is like John Hurt is like telling various different like fables and stories, and like yeah, it's great and stuff like that. Check it out on like Star app. It's on the store. There's their streaming service. Yes.
They did. There was the Happy Time Murders that came out this year, which a lot of it was kind of over the top crass. It was like
I did not care for it. I didn't understand.
It was very strange. It was like a gritty detective story, but told with Muppets. And it was like, okay, how can we make like the puppets like adult and edgy? And a fair amount of it was kind of like, but I mean, I had a good time anyway. Like, it takes a lot for me to hate a movie, but that was done by the guy.
Brian Hanson.
Yeah, that was done by the director of like Muppet Treasure Island and everything. It's like, okay.
And Muppet Christmas Carol, yes.
And Christmas Carol. It's like, what can we do?
I did not. I couldn't quite figure out.
Most people didn't like it. I'm gonna come clean on that, but I mean, I had a good time.
I liked it. It was just like a big long. It's just like a ode to the dick joke, where it's like you don't need to like there. We don't have to
Pretty
like.
much.
We don't have to like bruise it up or think that there's something deep about this dick joke. No, it's just dick jokes that's on the screen, stuff like that.
I mean,
and
like, some things
if you're not a fan of that, then that's understandable. Yeah, it is very crass.
Like the thing in The Office went on like way too long. Like I can get how they thought it was funny. Like if I'd been like 10 years younger, I would have been like on the floor. But you know, your taste kind of changes as you get older. So, I mean, it was okay.
I get maybe I didn't. I felt like too many of the jokes were just like, "Hey, this is a puppet, but he's talking about dicks."
That's exactly like
and I felt like I have a 4-year-old who will just come up and be like, "But." That's exactly how it felt.
As both in the chat, it's absolutely hilarious. This is like the rebels are resentful of the power of the Empire, so they play victim. So Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson, Star Wars.
Oh
I
god!
buy that.
Oh my god!
Is Jordan Peterson going to cry about Star Wars now? Jeez.
I almost hope.
You know, when you think about it, a lot of that sort of like Darth Vader, kind of lobster-like in a way, but a black.
Yeah, I mean the Death Star has aesthetic qualities, and the destruction of anything that has to do with aesthetic quality and functionality is being destroyed by this postmodern neo-Marxist Jedi ideological possession.
Yeah, like
even though it's blowing up a planet.
I have a professor who's like, you know, his free speech stuff is good, and you watch it, and it's like he's just throwing vocabulary words at us. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Nothing. There are even people like I heard Destiny the other day talking about like he says valuable things about psychology. Actually, he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
He says outdated things about psychology. Like he's into Freudian psychology. That was outdated in the 60s.
I mean, I'm guilty as charged of that, but it's not my own. I mean, it's. Mm-hmm. It's what I mean. It's only
but you don't have
imagination.
You don't have like patience.
Mm-hmm. No, neither do I. Like I tend to view philosophy as a useless field in many respects anyway. So like whenever people are like, "Oh, listen to this," and it's like it just all sounds like garbage.
It's a useful tool in my opinion, but it's not the end-all be-all, essentially, in my opinion, and stuff like that. It's just like another way of framing things and stuff like that. And there's many different schools of thoughts that you can draw from. But yeah, if you can do like just be nothing in philosophy, and then you can just be like up your own self and stuff like that. But
you can just say what you want and like have it. You know, oh, this is. You know, a valid philosophical thing that must be considered, you know, and I
think if you get deep enough into philosophy, I think there's a lot there that's useful.
Sure. Yeah,
But
I think that's too. Yeah.
I just think it's very it's sort of very it's very narrow to be holding on to specific, things like that. It's kind of a lot of people, probably the people that I admire the most, and I think it's an eclectic thing. You sort of think, okay, I'll take a little bit from Freud, a little bit from Jung, a little bit of psychology, a bit of this theory, a bit of that, and sort of make your own little salad. And that in itself is okay, but I don't like the attachment of saying, just because you like you may like specific parts of Freud, like the id or whatever, like you might look at that, but if that's your only way of looking at the world, then and there was a time where I was like I had to get it out of my head because it was for obvious reasons, like getting out of my head and stop thinking about like Star Wars is this big expression of George Lucas's sexual anxiety. I mean, that's
again back to the Scarlet Pit and the Virginia Daytona. Yes.
yeah.
Ah, man.
And I think that's an excellent point to end on stream or something like that. Well,
yes. Okay, so a couple of quick things. I think that we need to go around and just talk about. And for people who enjoyed Lonely Wolf, I'm trying to talk him and another Twitter friend, Little Billy Black, into doing a little series that I call Bewitchin' Stitchin', where we do like crafts and talk. And so if people think that that's a good idea, they should all say what a great, fabulous idea that would be, and they would watch it so that I can convince them that that's a good idea. And let's see, I am working on that Disney video, which is about Disney and class. And I really, really like, there's two Disney universes that I'm talking about, the Mickey Mouse, Mickey Clubhouse universe and the Princess universe, extended universe. And my biggest concern about that is how to do it so that Disney does not
copyright strike it.
Exactly. into like some sort of copyright purgatory. So I'm trying really hard to figure out how to do that correctly. So that's where I'm at right now, but I am working on it. I work on it every day. So that's coming out. I have some other stuff that's coming out as well. And so those are some of my plans. I'm working very hard on a thing about toxic masculinity, the concept, and I still am trying to figure out a time and figure out a scheduling for talking to Destiny about some of his ideas about domestic violence, which I think that we could talk about and work on. So those are my things.
Yeah. Because I actually made it, because that was one of my videos. It was toxic masculinity. It's not it's kind of it's really intended for me. It's more that it's the men's liberationist perspective, like swerving away from sort of the MRA, and like it doesn't follow every single beat of feminism. Like there's some ideas that might diverge a little bit away from it, but it's the concept itself is very valuable and it has utility. So it's so I've sort of made videos talking about that particular concept. And you sort of, I mean, sometimes when you sort of take if people are honestly engaged in the concept and they listen to what's being said, not what they think is being said, then, it's not really it's not an ugly word. It's kind of like I just make the analogy of certain words that kind of, that poison people's ears. Like they hear the word moist or something like that. And they think, oh, don't say that. I mean, that's how they react. That's how I started the video with that. It's like, we're just going to look at one of those words, and you don't even have to use the word or whatever. Just like, understand this is what the concept is. And, and there's a lot of ideas like there's, women can have those qualities as well when we mix gender roles, and, and, women and men can contribute to the social norms just as much.
So Lonely Wolf, what do you have like up on your channel, upcoming on your channel to promote yourself as you're ending the stream?
Probably. I don't know what I'm going to do next. So I have a few streams. That was an important one. Probably it's a lot of my content is going to be more on more of the queer stuff, really. So asexuality is sort of one of those things that I'll talk about quite a bit. Because we're in a stage at the moment where the larger LGBT movement's a bit kind of dismissive, and it's a very toxic dynamic in some parts of the LGBT community where we've got this obsession with, trying to stack the letters against each other and say, this letter is more oppressed than this letter. And unfortunately, the asexuals are the sort of on the firing line.
There's always the ace erasers. Yeah, the ace erasers thing happens every year at Prides or anything like that. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. So that's why it's sort of become more important to talk about that a little bit more on my channel. So that's probably what I'll be doing a lot of in 2019.
Okay, Dustin, you go.
So I'm just gonna kind of list off real quick like all my different things. So we've got Inside Movies Galore on. I think we're doing Groundhog Day this upcoming week.
I love that movie.
I don't always quite remember like the titles because we usually kind of like check the day before and then I watch it like the day of the episode because I am disorganized beyond belief. But yeah, so Inside Movies Galore, I think we're doing Groundhog Day on Tuesday at 9 o'clock Central. Then we have on Pop Culture Weekly, we're doing, I don't know yet, to be determined, at 7 o'clock on Thursday. And then on my own channel, I want to try and get the videos that I've been stockpiling for the last couple months, because I got a lot of really cool pre-orders that I unboxed. I just didn't, I got them uploaded, I just didn't bring them live. So on the Crypt of Horrors, there should be some unboxings. So if that's your thing, or if you just like hearing me talk about horror, you can find me on there. I'm also on Twitter at the Crypt of Horrors, where I get angry political and also just do pretty much whatever random thing I feel like. You can also find my Instagram, DHR Hunter, before I figured out the Crypto Horrors title. Like, I wanted to be the Vault of Horror, but that was taken. Like, everything else I wanted was taken. That was shorter. So, but yeah, I do a lot of stuff. I'm going to try to be actually getting my content out there pretty soon. So, being in school and having all this other stuff to manage, it just kind of goes to the wayside. But I have a good time with it, and I'll keep doing it as long as I'm having fun.
My Twitter is not very exactly useful. It's very I don't take it like I take YouTube seriously, but Twitter I don't really take seriously. It's mostly just if I find a meme, that's where like it's just memes and shit posting.
Lonely Wolf is almost at 200, so everybody has to go and just get him there. Get to 200. Come on, we can do this, people.
Yeah, I'm not too scary.
Oh, real quick, I also wanted to plug my friend's channel,
sure.
Septum Sins versus the World. So he does basically what I'm trying to do, except he's got a lot more content than I do. So he does like reviews of a lot of different anime titles, especially. Septum Sins versus the World, and he's also on Inside Movies Galore with me. And so I just wanted to be sure to mention him because he's got a way bigger collection than me, and I know he puts a lot of work into like his videos, along with his friend Kabuki Jake, who comes on and he's on Inside Movies Galore, and he does a lot of work with Septum Sins versus the World on their content. So check them out too.
All right, so everybody, get me the links and put them in our group chat.
Yeah, so Random Geeks like kindly put our Twitters in there.
Okay.
Thank you guys. You guys are so sweet. You've already added an extra 2 to my collection.
Yay!
Hooray!
So you're almost there. Come on, we can do this.
And now finally for me, as my brothers are waiting for me to join them, as I'm going to like watch cartoons, Hilda on Netflix with them as we eat dinner. That's how we normally do it. I am Jonathan Scott, also known as Some Random Geek on YouTube, and Some Random Geek on Twitter. I already posted my Twitter in the chat. And my latest video that I just put up earlier this week is a review of the new anime movie, A Silent Voice, one of my favorite anime movies in the past 5 years, and it's better than Your Name, and that's high praise for me. But coming up eventually, I will also post up the highlights from the Steve Shives Patreon Hangouts from 2018. It's like over 2 hours, so check that out. And yes, thank you, Christiosity, for the chance to like be on your stream, and I'm glad to be a patron of yours. This was a lot of fun, and all of you go to Christiosity, patreon.com/Christiosity. There is a you in there, and give her money. She is a mom. She deserves it. She answers your questions here in this live chat, in this live stream, so she's definitely worth it. There you go.
Yeah,
Yay!
thanks for having me on too. This was a lot of fun. So it's always great to just come on and ramble about whatever comes into my mind.
All right, awesome. All right, so I'm going to say goodbye, and that I love everybody, and I really appreciate all the people who have put me up to 5,000. That's huge. And like so many people have been so kind and so generous, and I really love you all. Like I know that 5,000 isn't huge, and other people are getting like big awards or whatever, but to me, it's everything. It's not about the numbers. It's about the community and how much everybody means to each other. And I just think that that is so wonderful. And I so appreciate every last one of you. So just thank you so much. And and so that's that. So, you know, before this gets too sappy, I'm gonna sign off. But thank you.
Bye. Goodbye, comrades.
Bye.
Official comrades.
Bye, comrades.
All right.